This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Always good to have you with us. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
A little time off there. Did you have a good Memorial Day holiday?
We did get Memorial Day off, and I had a lovely time.
Good.
I like those long weekends. I get ahead on my columns. It makes for a short second week.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Now we know the secret truth
Right.
of how this all works. The Supreme Court has gifted us a decision to talk about here early on Monday. In a 7-2 decision, said that the baker from Colorado that refused to make a wedding cake for a gay couple was within his rights of religious and free speech. Ruled 7-2 in his favor.
Well, it's just breaking as we speak. You just told me more than I knew about it, except that the 7-2, what's good about this ruling, without passing on the issue itself, because I know a lot of people will find it controversial and worthy of criticism, is that when you first told me the ruling had been issued, I assumed, like everything else, it was 5-4, because it's our Supreme Court is divided and our culture is divided. It was 7-2. Two of the Democrat-appointed left-leaning jurists, Kagan and Breyer, voted with the 5 Republican and more conservative nominees. That basically, everything else being equal and everybody having the rights that they have, if a baker has religious beliefs and does not want to bake a cake for an event he finds to be against his religion, he is entitled. It's big. It will set off all new debates about the clash between, as we've seen in Arkansas, with the clash between religious rights and gay rights. It's going to be a big source of discussion, but I am personally happy for one thing, that it was 7-2, and that what we need. It's a new theme with me. If we could just get people on both sides agreeing to something, even if I disagree with it, that it's 7-2 begins to suggest a functional court, at least on this issue. Probably go back to 5-4 on the next one. But the best news of what may be bad news for a lot of people is that it was not a narrow 5-4 decision.
I see this as being a potential catalyst for a renewed approach to culture wars that we have seen divide this country. I think you can look at this ruling and you're going to be emboldened if you have a conservative cause.
Yeah, that's true. If the winner here is the religious freedom side, and therefore this opens an entire new opportunity for people seeking to impose religion against things they don't agree with. It's their win, and it's advantage to them, and that makes it very big. But at least 2 liberal justices let this happen along with the conservatives. So deal with them.
Let's turn our attention to Donald Trump, who's been making plenty of headlines over the Memorial Day time off and the subsequent week there.
Yeah.
Most recently, or one of the more recent ones, is that he says he can pardon himself here. And I guess my question to you is, because you're not a legal scholar, I don't think you're going to weigh in on whether he can or not.
But I played one on Roby Brock's show.
But do you think that in this Mueller probe and all of what we have seen conjured up from the president and his allies here, are the waters muddied enough now that whatever happens is going to be tainted, or do you still think that legal specifics can win out in this case?
Man, that's the question. You always ask the tough questions. I think Trump is about to get it muddied up enough that legal precision and a legal decision carrying the day is seriously in question. You know, when I was coming of age as a young political pundit in the 70s, and Nixon was having all of his business, the one thing that everybody said, it became a cliche. Everybody was saying, well, no man is above the law. It was just assumed then at the time. Nixon never he talked about a lot of things, but never pardoning himself, or that he couldn't be investigated by his own Justice Department. And now Trump, the worry about Trump that a lot of people have expressed is that for all of his bluster and all of his silly tweets, he is of a type. He is of a personality type that he has such little respect for our institutions that he could conceivably, in service to himself and his ego, create a constitutional crisis. You've asked the question, and if we get if these matters should go to the United States Supreme Court, you have to have a president who says, okay, so if they rule against him, okay, I lost at the Supreme Court. We might have a president in this case who say, who are they to tell me what to do? I'm a co-equal branch. I don't tell them how to rule in their decisions. They can't tell me what to do with my Justice Department or my pardon powers. Well, of course they can. We're a nation of laws. He leads the executive branch in a nation of laws. The Supreme Court is the final word on the laws. It would be a major constitutional crisis, and it is surely unlikely. But this memo seems possible. One part of this memo that he might pardon himself is kind of comical. But I have always wondered how we manage to exist by considering the Justice Department independent for its criminal investigations, when in fact it is simply another department of the President's cabinet. Mm-hmm. And we've always said, well, the Justice Department in its criminal investigations is independent. Well, that's nice, and if we'll all agree to that, swell. But actually, the Attorney General is like the Education Secretary or the Commerce Secretary, serves at the pleasure of the President. As a member of his cabinet, the President can fire him any time. Mm-hmm. You just
different
could.
than, say, the Arkansas state system where we elect our Attorney General.
Is constitutionally independent. And I think that's a legitimate question. I've heard this argument that the President, by firing James Comey, cannot obstruct justice. If he fired Rosenstein, is that the name?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be obstructing justice because these are people who work for him. He can fire who? That's a legitimate discussion.
We may be having
and we may be headed
pretty
for it.
soon.
But the fear is that it's just your question, which I can't answer. Well, whatever legal resolution we come to, will it be respected by Trump if it's not in his favor? What kind of an animal have we got hold of here in this president, and what could that mean? And it's mildly ominous, not greatly ominous at this point, but mildly so.
Let's talk about North Korea. This is another high-profile episode where the president at this summit with Kim Jong-un is on again. It's off, it's on, it's off. I don't really know where it is today. Isn't this feeding and playing into the North Korea propaganda machine, which is what Trump's supporters would have criticized Obama or Clinton or any other Democrat for doing?
What,
and did.
Vacillating?
For vacillating and for feeding the propaganda machine. You're giving legitimacy to this guy who wants respect as a world leader when he really hasn't earned it.
As a general rule, Trump's criticisms of Obama are absurd, and his base of support it so despises Obama and so embraces him that they lose all reason. Do you know, as an aside, the White House says President Trump will host a Ramadan dinner Wednesday night.
That's right.
Did you know that? Which means I think we need to check his birth certificate. I mean, he may be from Kenya. Because he didn't do it last year. He proposed a ban on refugees from Muslim countries. He's declared Islam our enemy and opposed Obama on everything that he's done. And now he's going to have the same kind of courteous, appropriate dinner that Obama had and all presidents before had. Yes. If you take it seriously, if you look at Trump's behavior here, if you look at the fact that he seems desperate to meet with the North Korean leader and to have this accomplishment, and he seems to be wavering on what the desired outcome is to be, then if Obama were doing that, the right wing Fox would be ablaze.
I'm ready for Trump to walk out in a tan suit is what needs to happen there. So
that's just
and now cynically, and I am serious about this, but it is a cynical response to this. my first reaction is he must have some Middle Eastern business that he wants to shore up, and this Ramadan celebration is not for the good of recognizing Islam, but it is for the fact that it may help him or one of his family members with a business transaction.
Well,
am I wrong to even jump to that conclusion?
Well,
we've seen it play out.
You're certainly premature and you're overly cynical, which doesn't mean you're wrong. You may turn out to be right. My instant reaction is Trump is always bombastic and full of it. And everything he says will be taken back in time or revised in time or ignored. And this is just another example. Somebody in the White House said, you really need to have this thing. It's an appropriate thing to do. And he said, okay, never minding what he had said before.
Could be as simple as that.
Could be as simple as that. And that's the first thing I go to in trying to analyze what he has done. But Pompeo, his gloriously desired Secretary of State, the tough guy he wanted Secretary of State, says whatever we do in our negotiations with anyone, North Korea or anyone, has to be based on outcomes, not just making a deal. That was his explanation for why why the Iran agreement was no good. He was saying, well, Obama just wanted to make a deal. Obama and Kerry in the end, they just wanted to make a deal rather than serve the outcome. And Pompeo says, we're not going to do that in North Korea. Yet you can't get a reading from day to day what Trump really wants from this, other than ego gratification of being perceived as having some sort of success. But is it outcome driven, or is the outcome merely that we talk with them? It's yet another chapter in the bizarre book of Trump.
And don't go too far on this, but you have a column coming out on Tuesday that references how all of this is interpreted through the lens of the Trump supporter.
Why can't I go too far?
Well, you can go as far as you want. I just want people to read the column. So.
Well, good. I sent you a copy of it in case you might want to ask something about it. Basically, it takes the Roseanne case, briefly, the Roseanne matter, and I have heard a lot of liberal people say to me and engage in disputes with me, and I've had a lot of disputes with liberals over this very point, that this is what ABC gets. You try to appeal to Trump voters with a TV show, well, naturally, you're going to wind up with a star of that show who's a racist because all of Trumpism is racism and resentment and hatred. It's not. And I think the great mistake Democrats are making is demonizing all 63 million Trump voters that way and thinking they can outnumber them in the midterms and in the next presidential race with the new Democratic coalition or the new Democratic identity politics coalition. And I presume tomorrow to get in the mind of a non-racist, non-hating, non-primitive Trump voter. I know he and she are out there, and explain what they think. And I'll be interested in hearing from some Trump people. I'm just confident enough, just cocky enough to think they're going to come out of the woodwork and say, you got it. That's me. I don't hate. I'm just sick of this and this and this, and at least he represents the... So everybody give it a read tomorrow.
Put Bud Cummins on notice right now. So
Bud's not going to like it.
You need a non-Bud person to give you some feedback on this one. I still haven't gotten over Roseanne and that national anthem rendition from years ago.
Where she made the gesture?
Yeah, and sung poorly on top of all of that, too. All right, he's John Brummett with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Catch his stuff online and in the newspaper. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure as always.
All right, that's all for today's program. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.